you don't know me, I am one of the high school girl leaders at the Mesquite campus, and I am so excited to give you a message on Proverbs. So Proverbs, I really love Proverbs. I feel like it's a great book where you can just kind of jump in. So like if you haven't had much motivation to read the Bible lately, if you haven't had time, it's great. It's simple. It's short and sweet, to the point. It's also a book where you can just be like, hey, let me just jump into Proverbs 12, and that's totally fine. It's not like you're jumping into the middle of a storyline that you need to understand, like a bunch of events. It's very much just standalone points, and so it's really, really great. Just to pick me up, a quick like go ahead and like, hey, pick up the Bible and just read this. Like you don't have to understand other parts of the Bible in order to understand this book. It's also it's really good for instructions, and the whole Bible is great for that. The Bible is literally God's word telling us how to live life, as Jesus did, how to glorify God. And I mean, obviously, if you want instruction, go to the entire Bible. But if you just want very much straight to the point instruction, Proverbs is a great way to go. There is room for interpretation. There's even little fun riddles that you can try to figure out. But for the most part, it's straight to the point. Like it will say, hey, if you do this, you're a fool. Like, don't do it. It does not sugarcoat things. And it's basically known as the book of wisdom in the Bible. And so it's just a book where like, hey, I know like we've all been in situations where like I just really wish I knew what to do right now. Like if I just had something right here telling me exactly what to do. Proverbs, great way to go. Again, the whole Bible is the way to go, but Proverbs, there's a very good chance it will give you a straightforward answer. And you might like the answer, you may not, but it will have an answer for the majority of the things that you are seeking. And so, as I said before, it's the book of wisdom. It was written by Solomon, who was the son of King David. And I know that in NYC, we've talked a lot about King David lately. I'm sure a lot of us are pretty familiar with him by now. If you were on here Sunday, you either heard Pastor AC at the Mesquite campus or Angela at the Forney campus talking about Solomon. And he was this guy, he was looking for satisfaction in his life through all these kinds of things. And one of these things was wisdom. And he just pursued wisdom endlessly, and he became the wisest man. Now, or he was known as the wisest man. Now, he did not find satisfaction in that. He did find that the only satisfaction that would completely fulfill him was satisfaction from God. But yes, so he was very well known as the wisest man. And so he's writing this book, and he's lived a long life. He has so much wisdom to give. And so we're going to go to Proverbs 1 through 6, I believe. And this is just going to be a quick basis of what the book of Proverbs is. And so it says, these are the Proverbs of Solomon, David's son, king of Israel. Their purpose is to teach people wisdom and discipline, to help them understand the insights of the wise. Their purpose is to teach people to live disciplined and successful lives, to help them do what is right, just, and fair. These proverbs will give insight to the simple, knowledge and discernment to the young. Let the wise listen to these proverbs and become even wiser. Let those with understanding receive guidance by exploring the meaning in these proverbs and parables, the words of the wise and their riddles. This is just basically saying, hey, Proverbs, this book, it's going to give you wisdom. If you understand it, it's going to teach you how to live a successful life, a life that God just sees joy when he sees you living it. It's the life that you need to be living if you're living for God. And so we're going to go ahead and fast forward to Proverbs 4. And we're going to be reading Proverbs 4, 20 to 23. And it says, my child, pay attention to what I say. Listen carefully to my words. Don't lose sight of them. Let them penetrate deep into your heart, for they bring life to those who find them, and healing to their whole body. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. So in verse 21, it's saying, like, don't lose sight of my words, keep them deep in your heart. So this is saying all of the wisdom that God gives us and that just we get from the Bible and just all of that, it needs to be kept in our heart. That is the only way that it's really going to be applicable and that we're going to get to see it lived out throughout our life. And so, kind of bouncing off of that, verse 23 says, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. So this is saying, hey, this wisdom is being kept in your heart, and you need to guard this heart. Because this is going to determine all of your life. It's going to determine which routes you go through, which path you take, how you react to certain situations. That all goes back down to your heart. And that's where this wisdom is being kept placed. And so think of your heart as a bowl. And a bowl can only fill so much. And after a certain point, it won't fill up anymore. And so we can fill our hearts with boast and be proud. And by that, I'm saying viewing life in a way of, oh, I'm better than others. I'm better than you. It's a competition. I'm comparing myself. We can fill up our heart with that. But when we fill up our heart with that, there's no more room for the humility and just the wisdom that comes with being humble. And so we have to choose carefully what we keep in our heart because there's only so much room. And since this wisdom needs to be kept in our heart, this is when we need to let go of just the things that God does not call us to live out, to feel, to think, to say. All of this other stuff needs to go. Now, the boastful and proud heart, that was just an example. There's so many different things that you can have in your heart. And it's really important to keep that in check because your entire life will go after that. Like, for instance, if I just have boast and pride in my heart, and I have no humility, no humbleness, I'm going to view the world through that lens. I'm going to pick the path where I'm trying to be better than everyone else no matter what. And I'm bringing other people down in my eyes so that I can get above them. And so at that point, all of my words, all of my actions are stemming from that position of my heart. And so that's why it's saying it's so important to guard your heart above all else because your entire life literally rests on what's inside of your heart. So this is going to bring me to Proverbs 27. We are jumping to almost the end of the book. And we're going to go to Proverbs 27:19. And it says, as a face is reflected in water, so the heart reflects the real person. So this is saying that you can see who somebody is by looking at their heart. At the end of the day, all of their actions, all of their words, all of their thoughts, all of your actions, all of your words, all of your thoughts, that comes from the heart. And so God and Jesus throughout the Bible, they talk a lot about the heart, just different perspectives, different points, but they talk a lot about the heart. And so, like, how do you see what's in your heart? You look at your actions, you look at your words, you look at your thoughts, especially your thoughts. Because, sure, like, people can fake actions. They can act a certain way and feel another way. They can say things they're not really thinking. Look at your thoughts. Look at what's being lived out in your life. What is being produced by your life? What's stemming from it? Like, what is pouring out of you into others? And if it's not things that God calls it to be, our heart isn't where it needs to be. And so, again, going back to keep your heart guarded above all else, everything comes from it. And so, think of some kind of body of water. It's clean, it's pure, you can drink from it. Now, there's pipes that kind of bring the water out. One of the pipes gets dirty. It's full of dirt. And now, all of a sudden, all of this dirt is spouting into the water. You can try and you can, like get a pail, scoop the dirt up, bring it out of the water and try to clean it that way. But if you don't get to the source, which is that dirty pipe, it's just going to keep getting dirty no matter how fast you're working to get that dirt out of the water, no matter how many people you have, all the tools you have, it is going to continue getting dirty until you fix the root of the issue. And that is what Proverbs 4:23 was saying. Going back to that, where it's saying, guard your heart because everything flows from it. So if you're trying to change the way that you think, the way that you act, what you say, basically, if you're trying to change the way that you're living for God, go to your heart because that's the source of it. If there's dirt in your life, I mean, everybody has dirt in their life. We lie, we steal, we say things we shouldn't, we do things we shouldn't. All of that is coming from the heart. And so if it's not addressed in the heart, it's going to keep pouring out of us. And sure, we can try to cover it up. We can try to fix our mistakes, repent, apologize. But if it's not fixed in the heart, it's going to be a recurring issue until it is fixed. And so this is going to lead me to my action steps. And I just want everybody, including myself, to just think about what's something in your heart that's taking up room for what God calls us to do. Is there pride where there should be humility? Is there lies when there should be truth? Like, what is in your heart that should not be in your heart? And just look at your life, look at your thoughts. What is coming out of you that God has not called us to do and to outpour? What's something that is taking up space in our heart that is not allowing what God has for our heart to take place in it? Now, another action step I have is to find a verse in Proverbs, any verse, something that applies to you, something that you're struggling with, something that you want to work on, something that you want to work toward, something that you want to change in yourself. Take the wisdom from it and apply it to your life, and go ahead and replace that other thing in your heart. So, for instance, back to the pride thing. Hey, I have pride in my heart, and it's coming out of me. I can just feel like that is what my thoughts are revolving around. And so then I'm going to go ahead and find a verse in Proverbs about pride. For instance, Proverbs 13:10 says, "By pride comes nothing but strife." Or Proverbs 28:25 says, "He who is of a proud heart stirs up strife." So that's just an example. So I'm going to find a verse of something that's taking up that room in my heart. I'm going to apply it to my life, get an understanding from it, and then replace it with what God calls to be in my heart. So I'm going to take this pride. It's saying that it's only creating evil and destruction and strife and grief and sorrow. I'm going to take it out of my heart. And I'm going to replace it with humility, with humbleness, which is what God calls us to do. And so just find any verse in Proverbs, something that relates to your life. There's so many different perspectives, so many different points. You will find something. You'll probably find a lot of the same thing that you're looking for. That's awesome. Just be meditating on that verse throughout the week. Look at it and apply it to your life. Get the wisdom from it that God is just speaking to you through Solomon and through just the Bible. And go ahead and replace what shouldn't be in your heart with what God calls us to be. It was really great to give this message. I'm super excited for groups, and so we're going to go ahead and dismiss. Bye, guys.